Матти. Хрустящие кранчи-мюсли из цельного зерна. Наполнены вкусом и пользой. Еще больше фруктов, ягод, шоколада и орехов в улучшенном рецепте мюсли Матти. Запеченные мюсли – вкусное решение для быстрого завтрака. Матти. Мы полезное делаем вкусным.
Вот уже более 70 лет мы создаем энергию. Силу, которая движет миром и способствует его развитию. Сегодня Татнефть – эффективная международная компания, активно развивающая более 20 бизнес-направлений. От нефтегазодобычи, нефтепереработки, шинного, розничного бизнеса до биотехнологий, генной инженерии. Гордимся, создавая ценности на благо людей.
Добрый день, уважаемые участники, уважаемые гости.
Второе десятилетие 21 века прошло под знаменем ускорения цифровизации.
Правительство оказывает максимальную поддержку этому сектору.
Эпоха, в которой особенно важной является кибербезопасность.
Эксперты, ученые, предприниматели вносят значимый вклад в решение задачи по достижению технологической независимости России.
Один, два, три.
Матти. Хрустящие кранчи-мюсли из цельного зерна. Наполнены вкусом и пользой. Еще больше фруктов, ягод, шоколада и орехов в улучшенном рецепте мюсли Матти. Запеченные мюсли – вкусное решение для быстрого завтрака. Матти. Мы полезное делаем вкусным.
Вот уже более 70 лет мы создаем энергию. Силу, которая движет миром и способствует его развитию. Сегодня Татнефть – эффективная международная компания, активно развивающая более 20 бизнес-направлений. От нефтегазодобычи, нефтепереработки, шинного, розничного бизнеса до биотехнологий, генной инженерии. Гордимся, создавая ценности на благо людей.
Добрый день, уважаемые участники, уважаемые гости.
Второе десятилетие 21 века прошло под знаменем ускорения цифровизации.
Правительство оказывает максимальную поддержку этому сектору.
Эпоха, в которой особенно важной является кибербезопасность.
Эксперты, ученые, предприниматели вносят значимый вклад в решение задачи по достижению технологической независимости России.
Более миллиона сотрудников разных компаний уже пользуются Яндекс.Браузером для организаций. Браузер проверяет все загрузки на вирусы, а также защищает пользователей от фишинга и кражи паролей. Легко установить на сотни тысяч компьютеров с разными ОС на Windows, macOS и Linux. Можно выбрать единые параметры для всех или индивидуальные для каждого отдела. Попробуйте Яндекс.Браузер для организаций.
Матти. Хрустящие кранчи мюсли из цельного зерна. Наполнены вкусом и пользой. Еще больше фруктов, ягод, шоколада и орехов в улучшенном рецепте мюсли Матти. Запеченные мюсли – вкусное решение для быстрого завтрака. Матти. Мы полезное делаем вкусным.
Colleagues, if you allow me, I would like to start our today's roundtable session. We'll be speaking about automated cable cars, cable roads. We speak about the security and the comfort. We have three options, and we'll be discussing that topic and to what extent we are ready to launch these projects, because we meet for the third time at this third edition of the for the third time as part of the on the sidelines of KDW. If next year we don't see this cable car, you will have no flat, actually, no residence, no property. We'll take it from you.
Я не хочу затягивать. Дело в том, что у нас 16 закрытие.
We'd like to cut a long story short. As part of the Kazan Digital Week, we have about 1 hour 45 minutes. I think we need to get ready for the plenary session, the closing ceremony. And despite the fact we have 9 speakers, 10 minutes Q&A included. So that's our timeline for today. So now I'd like to start our presentation. The first speaker, Damir Altanbayev, Director of the NPO Gulliver, initiator of the regional network of the robotized city cable roads of the Republic of Tatarstan. Thank you. So we are developing infrastructure for life, as they call it. We go pilotless automated cable roads. That's the regional network that is registered in the Tatarstan development strategy. That's a new system that will add to the traditional means of transport. We promote this work for a long time. We develop this cableway crossing the Volga River and some other. We're implementing these cross connections inside the city to address the transport tasks in the world. They're developing about 40,000 of them. That's all about the electric means of transport. It's the winch that is hooked. In Vietnam 2 years ago, they put it on operation. 230 people in a cable car. That's the world record. There are no rails, minimum consumption of electricity, 3 kilowatts per one passenger, as different from the cars, because it has 100 kilowatts under the hood. So there are ways, since it is produced in modules at the factory, it could be easily produced and assembled. According to regulations, if there are no problems, about 10-12 months. It was proved in Moscow and back in the city of Nizhny Novgorod. We have the cableway in the city of Orenburg, but it's very old. So we believe that the regional network here could be implemented, and there is special decree of the Cabinet of Ministers on launching this cableway in the suburbs, Kazan, Verkhnyi Uslon, up to Innopolis, and somewhere in the vicinity of the city. If you look as for transport load and the structure of the customers, primarily we believe they should be targeting local residents because they ensure the safe, comfortable, and accessible way of moving around, specifically low mobility groups of population and so on and so forth. As an example, we have 3S system, so big cars that are used quite rarely for now. We're more interested in localizing from the Kazan Kremlin, as we told in Cabinet of Ministers, to the Verkhnyi Uslon, 8,600 meters length and 2,400 passengers an hour, having such a capacity. It should work 24/7 at least, because this route, it will take about 24 minutes to get from A to B between the locations, and the people living in Innopolis to quickly get to the city center at the Kremlyovskaya subway station. You start from the central stadium. That's one of the options. When we put the start to the bank, we'll have to create a gallery. They are developing and designing the solutions. This route is quite efficient, comfortable, convenient, much anticipated, as Vadim Vasilyevich said. We're trying to integrate this work. And when we start working on the other bank, we've got a big challenge. What to do there? There will be the settlement, or 25,000 people population with an e-trade activity, and then we have in Innopolis city quite close to it. It has some amusement park. We'll be standing aside the Verkhnyi Uslon settlement, and the recreation that is available here is very attractive, because along the whole flow of Volga, they don't have such a resource, don't have such an opportunity. You know, it's a truly gift of nature, or a gift of fate. That's the strategy for the development of the region. You can see in the yellow color, if we go to Verkhnyi Uslon, to the right bank of the Volga River, and taking this cableway, we can get to Innopolis, despite the fact they have the developed system of roads, and you can do even without the second line. As for the forecast for the Kazan city population, it will reach 2.5 million people, and we believe that annually Kazan is visited by 8 million people, according to our State Committee for Tourism. And so that number of the tourists that visit Kazan annually, so big numbers. And speaking about the infrastructure specifically for the guests and for locals, should be developed and should be concerned. So Verkhnyi Uslon is a very attractive location from the point of absence of any high-rise buildings. There are certain restrictions, but as for the resource of that region up to the Innopolis city is not tapped fully, so there is still a place for capacity building, and we believe it to appear quite soon. So that's approximately from that location. The stadium is taken outside the protected area of the Kremlin. It's the only site. It's about 300 meters away from the subway. We can put the starting point for our passengers, or take them to the embankment, to the riverfront, and have this route crossing the Volga River. They're quite big distance over the riverbed, about 800 meters. As for the height, here we have an example of the cable cars in Ankara in Turkey, where our government visited. So it's a Leitner company produced locally there. We've been working for a while with the Leitner and Doppelmayr, and that's the proposal for Verkhnyi Uslon region. We have different components that is made up of, such as supports, towers. The design should be changed, obviously. if we consider as for the loads, it should be more aesthetic looking structure. Well, at least in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, this aesthetics is not a perfect. So such a cable car with a capacity of 10 passengers. Doppelmayr also made a calculations for the stations with the big cars, just to show you how it works actually in a sea climate in the seismic areas, seismic active zones. So the system is very reliable, and as for the project economy, with a social tariff of 100 rubles, it works well. We chose concession as the priority form for 49 years, with a starting capital of 10% from the investor. That's the overall layout. It has become part of the strategy. As for the red lines, that's the suburb lines of the cableways, and you have the lines Korsun, Kazan Arena, and through the crossing the Volga. Further on, we are planning to have it over the city, like in La Paz. It has overall distance of 36 kilometers. That's an example of suburb line, 17,000 meters. Well, Solod Kupore residential area and Raduzhne between Technopolis, Novaya Tura, and Tura 2.0. So these industrial sites and Znandersky region, and if we look into these labor migration, is about 30,000 people a day back and forth. And they are now thinking about as for the traffic congestion in the Gorьkovskaya highway, but the cable car will help to get to the subway station Severny Vokzal. The technology allows to implement it without any environmental impact, without cutting the forests. There's some parameters of the project. As it was estimated last year, we signed an agreement with the Urban-Tech company, and we are working on the preparation, the agreement, and the finance project. We have 3 stages timeline. That's the major layout. One there is concession and concessionaire, that's the Gulliver company. As the constructor, that's the SKA company. It will show its project. That's the only company we have, and we are happy to enjoy their support. They will show some new updates. We'll have some Chinese delegates, and Vadim Vasilievich, you participated in that show, but it was the Institute of the heavyweight vehicles and lifting equipment of Beijing. As for the concession itself, there are some criteria that should be ensured in order to make it working and operational. As for the working group under the Ministry of Transport, it was established, and now we're preparing a set of documents for the procurement procedures, for bidding campaign, and so on and so forth. So we're choosing the partners to work with. As for transport modeling, is represented by the Professor Devetkov's projects, so the models that allow to go for a financial analytics. As for our current legislation and codes, according to, we have the law on concessions, and we do hope that the agreement will be formed and will be able to present it to our Federal Commission. So it is believed that it is some extra budgetary funds that should be attracted, because the budget is quite intense. There are certain restrictions, there are certain stages. If needed, you can consider how it is organized. Some qualitative indicators, features, that's what is for the Russian government commission that will be considering our proposal. We'll have a lot of work to do on the city of Naberezhny Chelny and Nizhny Kamsk and Bolgar-Tetushi, connection to the right bank of the Volga River through the Vertolyotny Island. Technically, we see no impediments, and it's believed that that will be the infrastructural bonds or debt, regional debt, will be restructured. It is in the process of discussion, actually. That's the current status that I updated. There are certain dynamics I promise to have it working in 2026. Inaudible, sorry. It's for the industrial, spasibo. Industrial sites, it shouldn't actually be weakened. And on site, these big migration flows from the Kazan regions and back, they should reduced. If you allow me, I would respond right away. We'll consider the right banks. We are not satisfied with the infrastructure. There should be some places where that would create new jobs. And yesterday, Minister of Transport in Smolensk, it's 350,000 people visiting it, and in Kazan it's 8 million. The tourist load on this type of transport will be going up inevitably because we receive about 4 million. In my head, on top of my head, I have 4 million. You mentioned 8 million. Well, still, it's quite of a burden, and attractiveness will increase if we have 3 routes connected between each other. When we build it, crossing the city, and if we're modeling for Nova Tura, this migration between New Tura and micro district, we cut on the expenses. Then the Kazan will have this unique running through the cableway. And I would like to say that it has done quite a big work. I would like to mention the municipalities that it spoils. It took us 8 years to overcome these restrictions. It actually creates the attractiveness, and Kazan is the only big city that doesn't have the cableway. In Orenburg and Nizhny Novgorod they have it, but they don't have it in Kazan. And with the support of the Academy of Science and our institutes and Professor Devyatko with his models and our financial model, it's the structure that constantly facilitate, enhance, and support if we need to prove something. So there was established a working group. Alexei Pizoshin, Prime Minister of Tatarstan, signed it. And now we are just working and updating the projects, working with the investors. It's very important this budget load will be minimized. That will be the commercial project. Colleagues, if there are any questions, please take the floor. If not, Damir Falikhovich provided a full representation as for the condition of the project. I have a question, since my topic, intergovernmental investment. To what extent is the need, how big is the need, do we really need an investor? Because previously, it was a must-have to have an investor because a very complex infrastructure, a costly project, and when we go along the route of the import substitution, import advancement, do we have needed resources to implement it? As for the localization and import substitution, we work with a Samara plant for the production of the cars, for the cable cars for the cableway. That will be effective to do it here, as well as the whole structure, these moving parts, and I think about 70% were substituted by local producers. But there is still need, there are certain high-tech competences and skills that should be addressed using the help of our Chinese colleagues. We can consider Turkish experience because certain because it's the robot, it's the hardware. In the up the air, it's 2,500 people there that the car is carrying along the cable car. Okay, you got a question answered? If not, then we move on to the next presenter. Inas Vasilyevich, professor of the Moscow Financial University under the government of the Russian Federation, doctor of the economic studies on global economy. I would like to highlight it's the only Tatarstan resident has got the diploma on the global economy. There is such a council. I'm the deputy head of the council, but even the only person who's got a diploma on the global economy, or world economy. He defended in the Financial Academy under the government of Russian Federation.
Thank you. Actually, we have a presentation together with the Associate Professor and PhD in Economics, Lilia Fakhrudinova. But let me begin. As soon as I was taking part in all the designing work, we worked with Mr. Altenbaev, and I know for sure that there is a certain demand for investments, so that's why. That's why today we'll talk about modern intergovernmental investments in modern technologies. So cableways in Europe are very developed. There are Leitner company and some other companies, and they offered us their services, and they were ready to invest in our projects and to supply their technologies. But as we know, the world has changed. And now we understand that we have to rely on ourselves only and to develop a cableway by ourselves, or to attract investors from China, probably mostly China, as well as India and some other Oriental countries. But at the same time, we understand that we have to invest ourselves into modern technologies. And we have to invest into modern, innovative technologies. And one of the advantages of such a way that there are many advantages for those who are ready to invest into innovative technologies. And there are no obstacles on the way, neither political issues or economic problems, because the main thing is to create the system for attracting investors and develop the measures for financial support in order to guarantee their profits, so they could see the advantages of such projects. So what is the general situation in the world in terms of direct investments? They are decreasing, starting from 2019. The first obstacle was the COVID-19 pandemic. After the pandemic, the situation was more or less stable. But in 2022, we faced new political challenges, and now the amount of direct investments is 1,332 billion rubles. So obviously it is decreasing, this indicator. First of all, because of the special military operation, it had a certain impact on the countries of the European Union, and that was the obvious reasons why the investments from the European countries have decreased significantly. On this slide, you can see the graph of accumulated direct investments to Russia from foreign countries. That's the information for the 1st of January 2024. Most of the investment we got from Cyprus, Turkey, and some other countries of Southern Europe. 15% of accumulated investment funds is from Western Europe. Leitner, one of the manufacturer of cableways, they stopped their investments into Russian projects. Also, some countries of Northern Europe, we didn't have that many investors from South Asia, like Vietnam or China. So our major investor was Europe. So they left, and now we hope to attract investors from China, India, and other friendly states, friendly countries. So on this slide, you can see some detailed information on the sources, the countries where we got our investments. As you can see, from Asia, it was only 1.008%, and most of their investment were attracted into oil and gas sector. While now our investors from China are quite interested in investing into a cableway project. Here you can see the sectors of economy, and our major investor, Turkey, they invest into finances, financial sector, manufacturing, trade, construction, and research, R&D. The share is not very big, but at the same time, we still can see. And based on this slide, we can state that many of those countries are interested in investing into innovative technologies. So while we are changing our way and facing our partners from the East, it's obvious that we can find some interesting project for our partners from India and China. We can share some R&D as soon as we have this developed R&D sphere, while our Chinese partners are very good at implementing R&D results into production, into manufacturing. Our Turkish partners are good at promoting these technologies to the West. And what are the prerequisites for further collaboration and maybe some risks that we expect to face? Now let me give the floor to my colleague, Lilia Fakhrudinova. She is representative of Kazan Federal University. Investments into innovative technologies have certain risks, for sure. We should understand that. Besides advantages, we have to take the risks into account as well. Intergovernmental investments is quite a promising field, but we should consider risks as a negative factor. And that's why it's important to organize effective risk management, such as identification, prevention, and among the sources of such risks, we can name some behavior, unfriendly behavior of the partners, espionage, changes and amendments to legislation of states and countries, inflation rate, increasing inflation rate, and so on. So before invest into a certain financial sector, it's important to estimate such risks. It's important to develop a complex approach and make a decision before investing into a new project. This certain project has a number of advantages. First of all, an alternative passenger line will let residents and guests of the city to cross the Volga River safely. Such transportation will take less time. We'll be able to decrease the traffic load on the historical center, downtown of Kazan. Also, diversified development of transport infrastructure of Kazan, Innopolis, as well as Верхний Услон, Apastovo, Kamskaya Ustye, Tetushi, Buinsk, and some other municipal districts of the Republic of Tatarstan. It can also become a great way for inner migration of residents in Kazan and increase the tourist attractiveness of the Volga of the Republic of Tatarstan. A cableway is an innovative transportation means, so it can be quite interesting for our partners from China, India, Turkey, and other Oriental countries. Cableways can increase and stimulate the ties between municipal territories of the Republic of Tatarstan, and it can decrease the number of transportation problems in Kazan. So, dear colleagues, do you have any questions? Well, I have. I don't know if it's a comment or a question. Unfortunately, we cannot rely completely on our Chinese partners. In 2022-2023, they didn't invest anything. They freeze some of the projects. So obviously, they are afraid of sanctions that will probably be imposed on them. I can say that we have projects which are not developing at all for like already 2-3 years. We should understand that for China, Russia is only 2 up to 3% of the turnover, and obviously they won't spoil their relationships, business ties with their major partner, which is the USA, and we should take all these aspects into account. And another problem is the problem of transactions, payments. You probably know that Chinese banks, not only Chinese banks, but banks of Kazakhstan as well and Kyrgyzstan, they do not make transactions, and this is also a risk, and we should consider this risk as well. This is just a small comment, brief comment. We met with our colleagues in the consulate, and they told us that they were going to consider the concession scheme, and they were quite satisfied with such a solution. They told us that they would be able to make those transactions via their central bank of China. Do we have any more questions for the colleagues? Okay, if we don't have any questions, I would like to give a floor to our colleague from Kazan Federal University, Dmitry Rashko.
Development of the competitive modern means of transport is one of the priority tasks currently that the major cities are challenged with. And similarly, Kazan, the Republic's capital. I think it's an open secret that nowadays the concentration of the economic activity and urban development processes are the major spatial resource of global development. In modern demographic context, the major opportunity for optimizing workforce management is all about ensuring the well-connective parts between the city center and the suburbs, adjacent municipalities. It has been said that it's important to develop and create jobs in municipalities in order to have this pendulum migration, daily trips when the people are commuting to the city center, then going back to the suburbs. But unfortunately, it's hardly possible to address this issue these days, because that's what we see every day. I mean, this migration. What does the city represent today? It has major institutions, institutions of culture, educational institutions. It's the place where residents can get major services. I mean, social services specifically. In the vicinity where we have this bedroom community. Traditional means of transport, I mean, like buses, trolley buses, trams, commuter trains, they are not always capable of managing it, and we see it daily. And development of new outside streets means of transport like cableways is seen as very promising. And as it seems to me, might address quite a number of different problems. The problem of the transport development, that is a major challenge for big cities. New means of transport is one of the options. Unfortunately, people spend huge amount of time in traffic jams, even going from the vicinity of Kazan, not to mention the municipalities, but parts of the cities. People sometimes spend an hour or so, localized up the north or down the south, in the northeast part. They spend an hour in order to get to their offices. And one of the options is to have the city cableways. The second stage or a third stage, it's more or less cheap option compared to underground means of transport. As of the date, the Kazan city is a monocentric industrial agglomeration that features Kazan, Zelenodolsk, and all the adjacent municipalities. And according to the analytical data, the city of Volsk in the Mari Republic could be referred to as part of Kazan agglomeration. So analyzing dynamics of the population growth in Kazan over the period in less than 9 years, 2015 to 2024, increased by 2.4%, according to the official statistics of Tatastanstat. That's only the Kazan city. If we speak about the adjacent territories, we'll see even brighter picture. And the population in the suburbs increased to 30%, thanks to Leishevsky, Pistrichinsky districts, Vysogorsky districts, where people actually are Kazan residents, thanks to the new built up areas as for adjacent territory adjacent to Kazan. From this slide, we can see that the old areas that are standing close to Kazan, there is a growing trend as for the population number. As for the Verkhnyoslonsky region, there is poor connectivity between Kazan and this region. Even the construction of a new bridge doesn't resolve all the problems, because we understand that the trip from city center to the regional center, the municipality, as it was said, it's the very big route, and it's quite a long journey. And construction of cableways will reduce the time, transportation time, in order to get from city of Kazan to Verkhnyoslonsky district. And I would like to speak more about this road. Well, first of all, that's the construction of the cableway from the city center to Verkhnyoslonsky district. Why is it interesting? Why is it promising? It's a suburb route, and Verkhnyoslonsky region district has poor connection with the city center. The construction of the cableway will allow to intensify the passenger flow. It will allow to use the potential of Verkhnyoslonsky district as a tourist destination. And this road, this cableway, is aligned with the transport strategy of the Russian Federation 2030. So what is the major point here? It's all about improving the spatial connectivity between different territories, improving mobility, development of the domestic tourism, low carbon footprint, and the cableway that's quite ecological means of transport. I will not read out all the items, all the points. It has a lot of social value. I mean, this project for the overall community. So what is the target audience? The locals, the residing in a right bank of the Volga River, transit passengers, Kazan residents that going to the suburbs, to the Verkhnyoslonsky district. It is aimed for tourists that might take a ride in this cableway because it's quite attractive tourist destination, and that route could be considered as a part of an amusement. And we can see it from the Nizhny Novgorod case, where people go and they take these rides, and it creates and provokes a lot of interest there. Though it's very important to understand certain specificities. In order to open up all the opportunities and to expose them, it's very important to share this comprehensive approach. If we just take people to Verkhnyoslon and they cannot get further on, that will bring no result. It will be just considered as kind of an amusement activity. It's very important to connect it with other transport flows. When the city dweller, over a short period of time, not using his car, can cross the Volga River, and in the Verkhnyoslon district, change it to some other means of transport, let it be traditional bus route, and go on a journey or go to some neighboring region. The potential of the Privolzhye region is really high. In many regional centers, and only regional centers, they have interesting sites that could be of interest for tourists and for Kazan dwellers as part of their weekend tours, when you can go on a journey on Saturday morning and get back the next day or the same day. Such sites are available in Pastovsky, Kaibetsky districts. There are different museums and other, not to mention Titusha region, because they have a more remote location. And for nowadays, The tourists can go to this location, but it takes quite a while, taking the waterways or going by a traditional bus, but it takes a lot of time. And through this comprehensive approach, this cableway will address a number of challenges, a number of questions. And as it was said, the development of this means of transport should facilitate and should address such problems at resulting in congestion at the entry roads, and should boost the development of the adjacent territory in the Kazan vicinity and enhance the tourist interest. If you have any questions, more than welcome. If you allow me, I would like to add something else. As for the new stations as part of this cableway routes, that's another attractions for business, because it will result in tax revenue. And when in Moscow they built this railway ring, it actually boosted the residential development and the retail development, and only through the tax revenue they actually could pay back all the money invested in the construction of that ring, this road. And when I consider the location, it's very important, so-called drive feed connections, when you don't need to, when you go through the protected, secured areas, changing from one means of transport to another. Colleagues, another thing that was not mentioned, it doesn't create any congestion, road congestion, as could be the case, and for taking the traditional roads, if you go from different places, it's a very big advantage. The time of delivery, absence of any accidents or the risks of accidents. And I would like to mention one more thing. Taking tourists from here to there, and the cableway is not connected with the territorial development of the right bank of the Volga River. And they should be aligned, and it's very important because people can go there to their jobs. If we can achieve this effect, to go not only to Kazan, but from Kazan to these locations, to this university center of Annapolis, because they have their own team there, working there. Maybe because of the logistics, there are no people living in Kazan, they all live there. Industrial, agricultural, we can consider the regional layout. It's very important to get from Kazan to this location. That's the problem in Zelenodolsk, when they need to get from the Myrny settlement, and there is no connection crossing the Volga River. And another thing, one in the suburbs region, they go to the Annapolis. I mean, on the other connection, we can connect it with the territorial development program. There is certain deficit of they don't have drivers for the buses, so the traditional means of transport cannot cover this great demand coming from the population. They have to go for automated solutions. The cableway has a lot of advantage. It could be installed within a very short period of time. The colleagues would add also that the issue of the business development, it should be all integrated in the major project. Okay, colleagues, if you have no questions, we'll move on. And next presenter, Alexander Kozlovsky, Director General of the warehouse in Samara. Online. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi from Samara. Unfortunately, due to technical reasons, I couldn't come to Kazan. And my name is Andrei, and I represent company Skata. First of all, thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to take part in this conference. You can see our video. That's the cableway, the project of a cableway. mostly for tourists, and I would like to start my presentation telling you a couple of words about our company. We have a long history, starting from the foundation of our company. We completed more than 450 projects in Russia and CIS countries. Most of them are cableways, but mostly we developed those projects for tourist attractions. And in recent years, we observe an increasing interest to cableways as part of urban transportation system. We have a lot of partners in many Russian regions. First of all, that's Kazan and the cableway in Kazan. But at the same time, we observe an increasing interest from many other Russian cities. Almost in every huge big city of Russia, they would like to have cableways as part of their transportation systems. And that's obvious because there are many advantages. It's cost efficient and it's safe and comfortable. According to the statistics, cableways are the safest means of transportation in the world. And that's why for any city, due to certain problems and the traffic jams and the transportation situation, it can be quite a promising way to solve all these problems. But year by year, technical requirements are becoming more and more strict, and that's why cableways are considered, at least in Russia, to be unsafe. And that's one of the reasons why it's pretty hard to get all necessary certificates and licenses. And of course, it doesn't give us impetus for further development. From our side, and I have already mentioned that we are a manufacturing company, so we can produce and design any projects. 90% of all the models that we have, we manufacture by ourselves, and only 10% we design in collaboration with our partners. Now we have 5 types of cableways. Which is quite a good indicator. What else can I add? We think that all implemented projects that we have in Russia, not so many of the cableways were implemented. We have them in Moscow, in Nizhny Novgorod, and Mezhdurechinsk. All of them were realized due to support from the regional government. And of course, it's impossible to develop any of such projects without governmental support, because on the way we face a lot of challenges and problems, including the requirement for certificates and licenses, and that's why the governmental support is very important. As for the technical side of this project, we don't see any problems, any obstacles, because initially cableways were developed for mountain areas, and that's why in the city it's even easier. So all the administrative barriers are the only problem for us. On behalf of our company, I can say that we are ready for further cooperation, collaboration, and we are glad to take part in the project which is being implemented in Kazan. We think that this project is very promising and has a huge potential. Thank you very much. I guess that's everything I wanted to say. So are there any questions, dear colleagues? So no questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. I can only add a couple of words that there are some competitors. It's quite a competitive field, and well, we actually do not compete with this company because their leasing is very expensive. The huge share of a ticket rate is the payment for leasing. Well, let me add, please. When I was getting ready for this conference, I came to one idea. If you think about the cableways that we had back in the USSR, for example, in Crimea, we had several of them, which are not functional now. In almost every capital city of any Soviet republic, we used to have a cableway. In Dushanbe, we reconstructed the cableway a couple of years ago. In Yerevan, it's under reconstruction too. In Tbilisi and Georgia, there are 3 cableways. In Sochi, we used to have many cableways in each health resort, spa. So it seems like this technology was available back in the days, but for some reason we are afraid of implementing these transportation means now. I guess that the cableway is much more interesting and attractive than, let's say, a bus. Of course, we cannot live without buses, but probably we'll be able to integrate all means of transportation into a system. You forgot to mention one of the projects, Alma-Ata in Kazakhstan. Yeah, and then Vladikavkaz, they used to have 2 of them too. Yeah, you're right, absolutely. Thank you very much. So I would like to give a floor to Mr. Kalinichenko, the executive director, the director of the executive committee of Kazan. My presentation will be quite emotional.
Because I'll be speaking about something we speak quite rarely as part of this project. We never speak about the real people that will be using. We speak very little about the emotions and the emotional component. I would like to thank Andrei, our previous speaker, who actually made a reference to that. He mentioned that. It's good. Well, it's important to take into account the development of the market that shows that people ready to pay for a product and assess the quality of the product depending on the impressions and emotions that they got after encountering and embracing this project. And the higher the quality, the more money they're ready to pay. And nowadays, the quality is assessed a bit differently compared to what was the situation 20, 30 years ago, and we should take it into account. As for the priority, it's not about the product, it's about the service that is integral part of any product, because the product is sold today along with some service that is offered. Another thing that is important to mention, every business, every product should have the final goal, or goal supreme. And for our project, there are some intermediate goals and the final goals. So what is that final goal? What we are trying to hit? what we are trying to achieve. And that's what I'm going to talk about. What is the difference between cableway and other means of transport, underground, trolleybus, and bus? It's an amazing emotion. Here we see the combination of the transport system with the entertainment, certain show, certain amusement, and if the person has got a choice which means of transport to take, he would definitely make a choice to have more emotional means of transport. And cableway is all about emotions, and if you have the emotions, you have a lot of people, because these emotions attract people, and if there are many people, it means a lot of money. And if we expect high passenger flow, about 15,000 people a day, it's important to understand that 15,000 people, it's the visitors flow of the Кольцо shopping mall, Ring shopping mall. If you just take them, not offering them water, coffee, some beverages, some snacks, not a souvenir, for sure, we'll try to do that. And if a person is experiencing positive emotions, he wants to somehow imprint these emotions in his heart, having some keepsake to remember this moment. How many passengers will take advantage of these additional services? Every 5th, every 10th, or every 2nd? And it will all depend on the management of this service. If you are professional, and that won't be there any congestion or overcrowded territory, will the navigation be clear inside the station and between the stations along the cableway? It's all about the marketing. Here you see the picture of lines to the cableway in Moscow. Even bigger people are standing in front of these cableway stations in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, because the marketing was not poor, was really poor. Nobody expected such a big flow of people, and nobody managed it properly. So our intermediate goal is not just to build the cableway, but build the whole network of the city and suburb function, ensure high level of service provision, because the additional service and major service is perceived by the consumer as one single product, because they do not differentiate as an additional service or major service. Primarily, it is emotionally perceived as a whole. And here we see the synergy effect. He likes coffee because it's tasty, and so major service also, he's fond of it. The employees, the staff members smiled at him, and he's got a different perception. He's got the positive vibes there. And it all depends on us. If the person is ready to pay the money that we will request for this travel, to pay that fee, would he like to have another trip? Would he like to use it daily instead of the trolleybus or bus? Would he like to recommend this new service to his friends, relatives, colleagues? It's again about marketing, and it should be well considered and analyzed. It's not only about the hardware and new technologies or software. It's all about additional services which should use new technologies as well, because when the person encounters something unknown, if the cableway in the city, it is integral part of the city skyline, it would be one of a kind and quite a unique thing. He shouldn't see there some old lady selling some cookies or seeds, sunflower seeds. So we should be innovative, and we should use the most advanced and disruptive technologies in offering the services and selling goods. And all these additional services and new technologies should work in such a way in order to differentiate and distribute this passenger flow. You could divide them differently. They could be divided as a high speed, cross-section flows when person needs to get from A to B, and flow and slow flow of people coming there for taking pictures, getting some emotions, buying something, having some family meetings. They are not in a rush. That could be children, students, young people, for example, people are dating. That's a romantic destination. Family with children, tourists, I mean like domestic tourists, foreign tourists as well. They would like to spend one day as part of their visit to Russia. Some people attending their dachas, living in Innopolis. There might be different categories. We should study them properly and offer each category something that would satisfy their needs, their demands, depending on their behavior model. So innovative solutions, they address a number of functions. First of all, that's the creation of new emotions, additional service provided in an unusual way. For example, the coffee is served to you by a robot or something unusual. That gives you some additional emotion that will retain that person in our business and will attract him once again to take advantage of the service. So secondly, it's the brand promotion of the Tatarstan brand, because Tatarstan is an advanced region in many innovative projects in Russia. I will not enumerate them now. And here it's important to solidify, to cement the status of innovative republic. And thirdly, technology should ensure the high pace of the service provision. To take people, 2,500 people, to provide them a ride, not to have the queues in front of the stations. It's no small feat. The accessibility, efficient management, as well as the security and safety, because the crowded territory may lead to some safety issues, and we should take into account, apply some zoning solutions, and develop the proper and smart routes. For that, we have a number of technologies. In China, for example, people are scanned according to their palm imprint. You can pay by your phone, and buying a ticket should be executed in different ways. For example, you use the mobile app, somebody will go to the box office, like in a cinema, or some other ways. And most importantly, it's important to have this loyalty program. The cost of the ticket should be lower for the local compared to a tourist fee, because he comes for only one time and he's taking advantage of the service daily. There could be some additional bonuses that are accumulated or some additional scores. And here in the loyalty program, it should feature some additional products that are sold at the cableway station. That is why it's very important to manage it and have this comprehensive approach. Over the 10 rides, you'll have this free of charge hot dog or some milkshake discounts. I don't know, you name it. And the person should be integrated, should be part of some kind of a game scenario to keep his interest high. And new technologies in retail, there are a lot of them, and they are developing daily. And our colleagues from Innopolis can confirm that they have some solutions for the loyalty program. Here we see, for example, the mirror that helps the person to apply some goods that he hasn't bought yet. He approaches the mirror, he sees himself in the reflection wearing some suit that he's going to buy, or some pilotless shops. There are about 30 of them in Moscow, a cashier-free shop. The person comes there, buys whatever he needs, and there is no cashier, and there is no shop assistant without any resource factor, no human factor at all. New technologies in the fast food industry, in the fast food chains. So you address two tasks. Yes, I know. The packaging of the food products, it should be convenient and having some emotional content, new solutions for the restaurant service. Here we see an example how you can bring the restaurant right into the cable car. So that's the case in Singapore. The safety management system, there are some cases where they use the AI in order to track the people's behavior in order to prevent the crimes in the crime prevention. We should use it as well. Different event scenarios, extreme entertainment should be there as an option because we organize the flow to the other bank of the Volga River. Well, there's some additional services and some territories and areas will have the museums, restaurants. It was already said. And moving from the services in the cableways to the services that will be given there should not be felt as a barrier. It should be like unified single window service. And most important thing, the final goal, the goal supreme of a project. It's not about the construction of a cableway. It's creating of the team, specialist team that in real life can accumulate certain and create a system that would further on organize similar projects and scale it up in other cities and regions of Russia. In Tatarstan, there are at least 8 locations for construction of this type of the cable cars, cableways, not to mention other Russian cities, 35 of them, that looking forward to such specialists that will be allow them to implement this type of system of transport. That's our goal supreme, to create the company on creating and implementing these type of projects. Thank you very much. What Andrei mentioned. Once again, Valentina Kulagina, ICL group of companies. The question that was inspired by this presentation, something that I missed, and I was really grabbed by the safety issues. And system, you have the automated cableways. You mentioned about the comfort. That's the conceptual story. Nothing was said about the safety. Maybe should some details that you can dwell on and mention. Some of the issues. People going to the other bank of the river. It's the water there is very deep because it's a riverbed. The safety issues are very serious. Will there be some safety center built as part of this project when you start and will put this cableway into operation? I will respond. As to the overall safety system, European Institute that investigated and studied this parameter, they got that 17.5 million kilometers per one insurance case. For example, for tram, it's 220,000 kilometers. It's 90 times more dangerous to take a tram rides. And as for the cars, it's 1.1 million cases. It's the safest means of transport. For you to understand, daily, similarly, cableway, 8 billion people use it. The system, it's part of the statistics, and that's what the evacuation. The system implies evacuation. For example, it has the double system of the power supply of all the drives. If something goes wrong, went off, then they have the diesel generator that creates the power supply, and the speed will be not 7 meters per second, but 1 meter per second. But still, it will take the car to the station for this type of cable cars and cableways when they have the cars. And the worst case, what happens there, the people are trained, the staff are trained as for the people evacuation from the cars, because there is a special system to take the people down from the cars. According to the Vietnam case, they have 230 people in this 2-floor cars, and the height is 188 meters. It's just like a TV tower. It has the pendulum system. You're just dragging it to the station, and that's it. to be concerned about these problems. And during the introduction of that system, it will be clear. In La Paz, it's a very massive system that is used by the locals. It created this amazing effect for the locals. It is absolutely safe, queueless movement, and has very motion effect. They get back once again and again. There is no waiting time. You get onto the car and you get to the location. Thank you very much for the answer. But another question I have, who is monitoring and supervising this project? Prime Minister. Okay. But really, that's the Minister of Transport, Elnar Rinatich, the rector of Kazan Federal University. That's why we have so many KFU faculty. It's the task that should be addressed, and when he was the Minister of Transport in the Republic, when there was the instruction back in 2010 by the president of Tatarstan, we follow different guidelines, and I guess this working group will allow us to overcome all these difficulties. We worked with ecologists, environmentalists. We're taking the evolutionary path, because it took a while for Kazan to develop subway system. First subway, then cableway. And the similar worry, similar concerns, if it's safe or not. There were two options. They discussed the options. In-depth subway, even close to the surface subway, is a rather costly project. But here, we're dealing with a project in terms of the capital intensity. It's not about the capital intensity, it's about the security and safety. It's safe, it's the safest actually. And the question is about the decision of local body on government bodies. Yeah, for example, when we speak about Almaty, if it is safe, not a single accident there in Almaty, despite of the highly seismic region. Okay, colleagues, Vadim Vasilyevich, I would like to add 35 cities that work on this technology, our partners Urban Tech, that are responsible for Nizhny Novgorod routes. With the support of the governor, it was quite a reasonable question, but the local people there, because that cable car, they paid it back. As for the section of the Volga River, it's 803 meters. For our case, it's 850 meters. I can tell you in advance, here we have the Director General of the Institute of Hydro Project, and we are very happy for him to be here, and we're sure that with their support and their assistance, we'll do it in the right way. And I think these questions about the passenger flow, for example, let's speak about subway. For a long time, they thought there will be no 10,000 at all, 100,000, but it went up exponentially. This effect, it will be the case, and the passenger flow will be times higher than is given in the forecast and predictions. Thank you very much. If there are no questions, let's give the floor to the next presenter. It's Vadim Izotov, Head of the Management for Development of the Special Electronic Products, Senior Vice President of VTB Bank. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you. So Andrei Borisovich has already mentioned everything about both innovative technologies and finances. So I will continue this topic. You are absolutely right. For a concession, the payback period is extremely important indicator, and that's why it's necessary to talk about payment for tickets. Those approaches that we consider to be promising. And I decided to take a metaphor with classical literature, because nobody likes discussing financial issues, but everybody likes literature. You probably remember those ticket barriers that we used in the past. Then we saw some other means of payment, coins, ticket cards. In St. Petersburg, they still use those plastic tokens. And day by day, the payment methods were developing. And now we can use bank cards, and we can use smartphone tokens. That was a breakthrough. Now we can't use Google Pay or Apple Pay, but we have Mir Pay, and we can use QR codes. QR codes were developing from the Asian market, and it's quite a comfortable and safe method of payment, because in order to use a transportation card, you have to pay beforehand. And as for the applications for telephones, for smartphones, they are not available any longer. So what are the technologies of the future in this field? First of all, this is biometry. Of course, some people are afraid of biometric solutions, but we have to face that it's a progressive, innovative technology that will be developing. The next progressive technology is MMAS. In terms of special rates for tourists and for local residents, MAS is a wonderful opportunity because you pay for a subscription, for example, and it can be a subscription fee different for tourists and for residents. And the digital ruble, we will see the first projects with digital rubles next year already. I was trying to be very brief. So in general, in order to pay for a trip, it's not about getting profits. It's a disciplinary measure for a passenger himself who uses a very expensive means of transportation subsidized by the government. Of course, this is an investment on return, but actually this is a disciplinary administrative measure. And my favorite approach, which I consider to be the best one, is a biometric one. Thank you very much. So we'll have to pay with our emotions, maybe smiles. Yeah, to pay with a smile for you and for your neighbor, for your friend. Thank you for such a brief report, and it's important, though. Okay, let's continue. Now I would like to give a floor to Dmitry Fedoseev, the representative of Innopolis University. Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Alexander Fedoseev. I am the head of the direction. I work with our key clients. I guess you all know the Innopolis University, and I'm a representative of the projects that are aimed at development of new innovative technologies. We have 12 labs, 12 technological centers, robotics, unmanned vehicles, all innovative technologies that you probably know. So as a university, we work as an engineering company. So we do not just design our solutions, but we also implement those solutions into practice. So the projects that I'm going to tell you about, that's our experience and our products that were developed and implemented based on the demand we got from our partners. We think that earlier, all the key figures who played a crucial role in development of cableway I guess that Andrei was the first one who convinced us that we have to use digital technologies, and we are absolutely sure that we can digitalize the cableway to create a digital twin of a cableway. We have already had such an experience because we created a digital twin for Innopolis city and also for Zabaikalsk city. So all the detailed information you can see on my slides. I just want to share some of the cases. The digital twins that we created, the digital twins of Innopolis, Zabaikalsk, the Republic of Tatarstan. Innopolis University is also the participant of Smart City project and the official partner of the Ministry of Digital Technologies, Digital Development, Communications and Mass Media. We help them to improve the transportation situation and to make these implemented solutions cost efficient and time efficient. What else? Innopolis University also is experienced in developing blockchain projects. We also see this technology as a promising technology in order to create a gamificated environment. So these products will be both interesting for customers, for people, and besides that, the products will be given to people based on the flow of tourists, and we can implement the video analytics based on AI, and it can detect the location of any human being who came to the park, for example. And I mean that in the situation when the person is missing, it will be easy to detect such a person. There is a GPS tracking model. We can detect people on both banks of the river, and any emergency situations can be processed by AI. What other interesting cases and projects I can share with you? There was a question related to security and safety, and I remember that in VDNH, that's in Moscow, and you know probably that there is a cableway. This is a tourist cableway. And a month ago, we were taking a ride by this cableway, and in the line there was a small girl standing with the granny. And she was crying. She was like, "I'm afraid, I don't want to take a ride." I came up to this kid and I told her, you know, I'm sure about the manufacturer of this cableway because I know these people in person. And she was calmed down. She believed me. Another problem that I would like to mention, you probably know the situation with the golf cars. The software was blocked by an American corporation. So in order to avoid it, we have to develop certain solutions, and Innopolis University also have a certain experience in this field to avoid the same situation as we had with golf cars. Besides that, we have already mentioned the CO2 Innopolis University is an official verificator of projects in a Sakhalin CO2 project. So we officially are certified as a center to calculate the profit of innovative technology solutions that can help us to solve this problem. So I can share a lot of our projects and our experience in different fields, but the major point that I would like to mention is that we as a company are able to accumulate all innovative technologies, and we are very experienced in many of innovative fields. We are eager and we are ready to become partner and develop solutions for automation of different processes like tourist flows, for example, and to provide certain solutions in the field of security and safety. I guess that your project will definitely need such a partner, and it's my honor to be here on behalf of Innopolis University and tell you about that. Thank you very much. We hope we'll collaborate closely in the future. Well, you know, before Damir has just mentioned that a cableway is a promising project for the further development of the Republic of Tatarstan, and I asked him to specify what regions will benefit, and I asked him to make certain estimations, calculations, and so on, to make me believe. Well, as far as I know, in Innopolis, they have a special division that will be able to make all the calculations.
The federal director of the Institute of Hydro Project. Good afternoon. So my presentation will be much closer to the ground. In all senses, I'll be speaking about and the foundation on which they support the tower of the cableway should be standing. Could you turn my presentation on, please? And colleagues asked me in our institute to consider the problem or certain challenge that we are encountering while building this cableway, specifically while in this section that crosses the Volga River. We have 8.6 kilometers. That's the riverbed, very weak alluvial sediments, sands, with a low resistance characteristics and deformation, corrosion characteristics. And it was already stated we should ensure safety of the whole structure. And the foundation amounts to about 20% of the capex, and the optimal design of the foundation influence the final cost and its efficiency. It's very important to ensure the longevity, service life of this structure, and if there is the power cut, if we drag the cable car, it would be safe. But if we make a mistake and make a poor design of the foundation, it will result that will put the whole system to a halt that would affect the final result. So it's very important to design it properly. and it's quite a dangerous site in terms of all the considerations that should be taken into account in the foundation, because complex geological contexts actually make the things worse, and it can detriment the whole situation. There will be about 20, maybe even 30 bridge pillars. The distance between them will be about 800 section over the navigation routes. In the local, as for the hydraulics, it's not very positive because the river turns here and starts flowing southwards. I'm speaking about the foundation pillars, 30 by 30. It's a kilometer. We're reducing by 10% of the river flow, an increase or decrease in and along the river banks. So as the washway or washing out that these pillars might result in, it will result anyway in a very massive bridge pillars and support pillars and a big load on the riverbed. The pushing in dynamic loads. Based on that, we came up with a minimum requirements to the foundation. It's not the extensive and full list. We should minimize with the thickness of the soil grounds with a low bearing capacity. Organization of massive foundation capable of resist tilting and dynamic loads, the cars of the cables, and some protection from icing and many other loads and threats that might take into account during different seasons of the year, and specifically during the shift of the ice in the springtime. And we should also consider different types of the foundation solutions and other additional special structures and construction that should be integrated. And taking into account the river flow that should require a very profound calculation and protection from the washing out of the foundation and the changes of the riverbeds and reshaping the riverbed. As one of unpleasant solution is to change, intensifying changes of the navigation routes that should be excluded actually during the design. Before going further, I would like to say a few words about the institute. Next year we will celebrate 95 years. It all started with the management of water resources and energy back in 1930s, construction of the Moscow canals and creation of the special facilities that in the beginning of the 1950s GIDDEP, a new Gidroproject that merged, and nowadays we refer to as the Institute Gidroproject, a Hydro Project Institute, and we work in different areas, and I would like to speak about that later on. Back in 2010, Institute joined PAO Rosgidro, and which is the major generating company of Russia. So as for the staff member, we have the Engineering Institute and Hydro Technology Institute, and the overall number of the staff is about 2,000 people, 2,000 specialists, which taking into account that we are neighboring industries and we can address very complex tasks. That's our major area of activity and the projects that we're involved in. I would like to say the hydrotechnical construction and hydro energy, geological and ecological projects, and specifically along the Volga River flow. In terms of the hydrotechnical part, Hydro project was the major contractor in the development of all Volga-Kama cascade in terms of there's a design in that part that has been implemented so far. Besides the ecological project, that nuclear energy sites and facilities, water supply that we provide to the nuclear power stations, and development of the engineering protection that features anti-flooding solutions and the territories that might be flooded, water treatment and some additional canals, oil and gas facilities, the heat energy facilities, geothermal energy sites. And I would like to highlight that the sites and facilities that we're managing and the high security, high safety sites of a unique kind. We deal with our pillars and towers and the foundation issues when there are some seismic issues and some sea and ice impact of a unique feature. As an example, on the lower picture, we have the bridge pillar for the grid, the energy towers that are the height of which is more than 150 meters. We don't go for the construction of the cableways, but from the perspective of foundation works, we have to deal with the more challenging tasks. The possible solution that could be seen here, the classical option, putting the pits, having the piles, and the creation load distribution structure that serve as the pillars, so-called foundation frame or foundation piling. Another option is creating the artificial dams with the creation of the massive structures, supports, and creating the dams as one of the options. The mounds or terraces or bunds, creation of the steel structures filled in with the soil. It's one of the options for the Volga hydropower station, where they needed some really large-scale structure for installation of the power supply tower. It was about 180 meters tall. Another solution, the giant massive solution, which implies creation of the pit and the creation of the bund and the creation of the special profile with the installation of the needed pillars. Then a possible solution is a floating structure. Here we can see some old projects in 1969. Kisabukska power station. That's the artificial island for installation of the pillars, part of the Krupska water reservoir. It's one of the latest projects. So floating blocks for the water intake pipe. And this type of blocks could be an option with a sinking depth of 3 meters. You can fill it in with the soil, with a special material, and that's the facility we put into operation last year. That's a dry dock, a quite unique structure in Belokamenka in Murmansky region, and could be perceived. The height of the wall is 20 meters, and the water pressure load is about up to 18 meters. Here we can see the technology could be used for fixing of the ground code and in the foundation, and the cases when we have these where such technology could be used. So having this gradient, so having these slope surfaces. We have the wave laboratory that is in St. Pete. Here we go for prototyping the possible influence of the stream and waves. You can go for simulation of different scenarios and the reforming of the riverbeds during the influence of the artificial structures on the riverbeds and the natural processes. They could be simulated here and redesigned, actually. One of the areas that we developed, and we can address our serious challenges, the ice pressure assessment on the structures of different types and classes. In the end, I would like to say the following thing, that in order to go for this foundation work, we don't need any impulse substitution. We have enough competence and knowledge and experience in order to address it, because we design the request, if needed, on some foreign requirements with the participation of the foreign banks. It's all possible as we design the structures in Uzbekistan, in Kyrgyzstan, in India, in Egypt, and any other countries. So what we need here is to go for the next step. Is just a very clear technical task that will clearly define, will it be 20 people or 5 people in a car? What would be the intensity of the passenger flow? What would be the requirements from the perspective of the cable way running over the navigation routes? So we have to develop this technical task in order to have this practical implementation. It's clear that we'll inevitably have a meeting next year during the next edition of Kazan Digital Week Forum. Evgeny Nikolaevich, could you say a few words and what is like overall impression? Our hall is quite empty. We've got some serious challenges we need to deal with, and we need to work with that. But I can tell that out of 3 options, the one through the Kazanka River and the Volga River, it was the most challenging from the engineering tasks. It's the most challenging project. All the rest could be addressed much easier. At 16 o'clock we have the 4 p.m. we have the closing ceremony of the Kazan Digital Week Forum. So if you allow me, I'll wrap up our session. If you have any questions, you can ask Damir Falikhovich, and you have another year to send him questions. Thank you.